Rob and Marcus here. We are excited to talk to you today about topics related to modern men. The mission of Friends and Brothers is to change lives and be a resource for you to find or regain your inner yelp. Today, we're talking about resolutions, Smezolutions, as we are at the very end of the year 2022 and heading into 2023 when, as very common, many folks talk about New Year's resolutions and being their best self and making an epic year. And it's good intentions, I think, to set certain New Year's resolution. But personally, I think New Year's resolutions are kind of a big crock. I don't think we need to wait till January 1st, personally, to get started on making a better year for ourselves or better getting to our best self, right? And I think there's other ways to go about it and to becoming better. A better version of ourselves, right? And so, Marcus, what do you think?
I completely agree with you. That's what's so funny about some of our topics is that, everything that we can do, we can get started today, whatever that's going to be. We'll talk about a lot of different things, but when it comes to resolutions, it's really about setting expectations.
Setting expectations.
Setting expectations, yes. Okay. And I put a long pause in there on purpose because most people's expectations in the New Year's resolution is I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And maybe they get one or two. That's okay. But I would encourage you to set some goals and the expectations be a little bit more realistic. And I'm a big dreamer. I'm a big believer in believing and all that kind of thing. But what I'm saying is when it comes to a resolution, we're typically going to fit them into a couple different categories: financial, personal, in this case, weight, image, all those kinds of things. And we want to make sure that we're not thinking we're going from Bart Simpson to some like supermodel or something like that. That's not what we're doing. Or Homer Simpson to Superman. That's not attainable. You want to be the best you, right? So setting appropriate expectations in the goal setting factor is, I think, most important.
Yeah, and so I think one of the things I think resolutions suck is they do have that poor success rate. I think you alluded to that, right, Marcus?
Yeah.
I don't know the statistic, and I don't know if there's a real correct or accurate statistic, but I would venture to guess that less than 10% of resolutions actually stick or are successful, right?
Yeah.
I think, and then I think that another reason the resolutions suck is what happens next. So let's say, in that 8 weeks, let's say 8 weeks out, so at the end of February, you lost that 10 pounds that you wanted to lose, and that's
Now
a fair
what?
goal. But what happens then? You have 10 more months of the year. You're going to gain 15 pounds then?
Oh, I lost the 10 pounds, so now I can eat everything and drink everything I want.
Right, exactly. So that's why I really hate resolutions, right?
Yeah.
Because whether it's in a month or 6 months, you still have the rest of the year, right? You're not making the most of the year if you stop at 25% of the year in, right? If after a couple months, or you give up, well, that's not motivational either, right? So I can't stand New Year's resolutions. But I think there's alternatives.
But I was going to say, I like your perspective on it.
What's that?
I'm not going to out the word terminology, but I like you to mention it if you could.
Okay, so the word of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a word of the year every year.
Okay,
and this year, actually, it was a phrase. It was be curious. So 2022 is be curious. And for me, the focus was ask questions and learn, right? And it's just more of a mindset focus for me, whatever it is I'm doing, whether I'm interacting with my kids or, in the fitness space or at work or, at home, whatever it is, I'm thinking, ask more questions and learn more so I can be better, right?
Now, do you have that written down?
I have it written down. I do forget about it from time to time, or I don't have it as like ingrained, but
Right,
but it's something I can go back to all year round because it's a word or very short phrase that I'm focused on, right?
right,
And again, yeah, we lose focus from time to time, but the idea is that it's not something that we can easily give up either, because it's a word that we can easily get back on track with as well, with a matter of, yes,
yeah.
that's it. I need to remember to be curious and ask more questions and whatever,
So,
right?
yep. So let me ask you this: have you ever set any kind of resolution over your lifespan that you were not able to accomplish, or that you maybe did accomplish? And what's the difference between the two?
Um, I'd say of the resolutions I passed in the years past, yeah, really nothing came to fruition. If it did, it was successful for a couple months and then nothing happened, right?
Okay. Yep.
So, um,
Have you seen anybody else make any resolutions? I know you said 10%. That sounds about right to me. That are successful. Have you ever seen anybody else make resolutions that actually?
I've seen people quit smoking and
Okay.
successfully quit smoking.
Okay.
Um,
What do you think was behind that? I'm going someplace with all these
ah,
questions.
yeah. It, they knew they needed to make a change, and they were just looking for, they might have, like, I think smoking is probably one of the more common ones. That's the New Year's
Yeah.
resolution, right? And
It's a bad vice in many people's
they know it's
perspective.
bad for them.
Yeah.
Maybe family is involved, in some case, maybe they became a parent, right? And so they've had some additional motivating factor usually, um, more often than not. In some cases, they really just they've tried and tried and tried, and they said, okay, fine, screw it, like I'm really going to stick to it this time, and they quit, and
So
so they're successful. So they might not have had much more motivation than they've been wanting to do it, and but they've just been trying and trying and trying, and they finally, were able to make it stick.
so would the idea of going cold turkey versus kind of like a gradual elimination of something, is that what we're potentially looking at? Like in many cases, do you think if someone were to make a resolution, I want to go cold turkey, I'm stopping dead stop and not
Yeah.
doing it anymore, or I'm gradually going to pull that away or do better at something gradually over time? What do you think?
Oof. Um, I think it depends on the particular resolution. With smoking, I've seen it go in both directions on different people, where quitting cold turkey was more successful than trying to limit, right? Um, Whereas in the fitness space, though, right, if you just go balls in, and go at 110% on day one, that's going to have the opposite effect, right? And I don't know if that's where you're getting at, but on the fitness space, it's that gradual increase is really the right way to go about it, right?
So
And
there's
not
no
that.
magic pill. There's no magic pill, is there? There's
No,
no
there's
one
not.
way or better way, right?
No, there's not. But
No,
there is no magic pill to losing 10 pounds in the first week
right,
and keeping it off forever by not doing it and by not making any changes,
right.
right?
So as far
Um,
as resolutions go, and to my point, as far as expectations go, is let's make some resolutions. Absolutely. If it's a bullet point list of maybe 10 items and figure out what they may be. I like to make a lot of analogy towards finances because people's money is really important to them, right? So if you were to set aside, a little bit of money in each paycheck, right? So use that same cumulative effect with your overall health and wellness. So in finances, say you're putting, I don't know, 50, $100, whatever that may be, something that may not be as impactful to you, maybe different to me, to somebody else out there that's watching us. So make that a number that works for you and start putting that aside, right? So you're not even thinking about it. The same concept applies to what we're talking about with other resolutions, right? So you want to apply the same mindset around food, consumption, exercise, minds, whatever those kinds of things are going to be. Set aside a little bit at a time, gradually build up what you and I, from the fitness space as well as the professional backgrounds, have built up the discipline to do those kinds of things every day, 365 days of the year. So there is no need for a resolution being made.
Exactly. And that's why I like the word of the year, because I
Yeah,
really think we need to focus on the process and not the end result.
right,
Because when we focus on the process, it becomes our lifestyle, not an ends of means, right?
right.
And having that process in place, really, that's also what sticks, is the process,
Yeah,
right? The 10 pounds
exactly.
lost isn't the process. That's the end result. Focus on a healthy lifestyle, getting rid of, as we used in our previous episode, on the coffee activity.
No,
For me, it was, I weaned off, sugar, and I went from regular sugar to raw sugar, and then I went from raw sugar to no sugar, right? So I gradually, I focused on the process. I still enjoyed my coffee though, right?
yeah,
And that's a really small example, but that's where it just, you build up on it and you focus on the actual activity going on. It just becomes part of your life then. And you're not even thinking about the end result. So you might lose 10 pounds. You might even, like over the course of the year, you might lose 20 pounds. Maybe you lose 10 pounds, but you gain 5 pounds of muscle, right?
yeah, right.
That's because, but you're not focused on that 10 pounds only. You're focused on what is the process. And that's really what is going to it makes it so much easier then, because you're not focused on whether or not you're making it right or successful. And then maybe you slide, you become disappointed or demotivated, right? When you focus on the process, you're focused on how I make this little thing better, right? And these little activities better. So, thinking about the Olympic swimmers, they're focused, every practice they go into, they should be looking at every practice as an opportunity to get better, right? They're not looking at, okay, of course they want to make Olympic cuts, right? And they want to get the gold medal. But if they're only focused on the gold medal, they're not focused on the process, and they're losing out on the opportunity of future Olympics as well.
Yeah, we talked about that. So the thing is that we are in a consumptive society. We are in a quick fix, instant gratification place. So what we want to reinforce in setting these resolutions with guys is, let's get ourselves out of that mindset on a daily basis to making these small decisions to build the discipline to do the things that you want to do that are going to get you to the goals that you're resolved to accomplish in 2023 or whatever years, kinds of things. Because I don't set any New Year's resolutions. I'm scripting and I'm writing and I'm doing all these things on a daily basis. And I would encourage most people to do those kinds of things, read, be a constant educator to yourself as well as a teacher to people around you. So when it comes to the resolution aspect of it, I like exactly what you're talking about when it comes down to the process, because it's something that you just carry forward as far as, okay, well, it's not just January 1st or December 31st that I got to start this. Start now, right?
Exactly. You don't have to wait till January 1st to come up with your New Year's resolution or a
Yeah,
goal, right?
start now. And if now you're fired up to do something, go out and find yourself a coach, find yourself a teacher, find yourself somebody that's going to help show you the way.
Have multiple
Because
coaches. I do,
yeah, multiple coach, right?
right?
Exactly right.
Like I mean, my finances are fine, right? But they're not like I'm not. But we have financial coaches, right?
Right,
Between our family, I
right,
am a triathlon coach, but I also have fitness coaches, right?
right,
I have coaches within my career.
right.
Uh, you know, it
They call them
like
mentors too, whatever you want to call
mentors,
them. Yep,
coaches,
yep,
you name it, that extra person giving us advice
yep.
where they have a more specialization than I do, right?
Well, they
So
also those people we included have an outside perspective,
also, yes,
right? So we as human beings, we're internalizing our focus. When you have outside focus on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, they'll give you much better direction, or at least give you something to think about. Maybe not the right direction, because some of those goals, or not goals, but some of those mentors and coaches, they may have the intention of helping, but they may do more damage. But the point being is, like, it's being outside of your own self that they can see or help you with, compartmentalizing, if you want to put it that way, the direction that might get you to where you want to go that much faster if you're looking at it from an efficiency standpoint, right?
So, Marcus, have you ever heard of this word of the year?
Yeah, word of the year, absolutely.
Have you ever practiced it?
I'm really bad about setting something like if it was a word or a phrase or something and keeping it on the ready. I mean, unless it was something that I wrote like you talk about, unless
Right.
I wrote it down and I wrote it down every single day. Like I have to I'm one of those like when I learn, I have to take notes. So I have to write it and read it as I'm writing it to actually learn what the hell I'm doing. If I just listen to what you have to say, I'd be like, yeah, it sounds pretty good. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I love it. But I also know myself fairly well when it comes to setting goals or resolutions and expectations along those lines. And yeah, I've failed at a number of different things that I've said, okay, well, I'm going to do this year. Yeah, okay. That's what I
And
mean
that's
by
okay
setting.
too, because I mean, it's okay to fail at our goals or resolutions or the
Right,
process. The real failure though is not getting back up and not trying again.
right. Well, that's what I was just getting to. Is like you can write them down. Maybe you accomplish 30%, 50%, but you accomplished something or you got to where you wanted to go over what you did the previous year.
It's
That's
30% more than than you started at,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. So a zero sum game, that's not going to help you. But if you set 10 goals down there and you accomplish one of them, hey,
Yes.
you're 10% ahead of where you were the year before.
Right. 100% of
So
10%.
yeah, 110%.
Sorry.
So it's in the expectations again. We're not looking for big change. We're looking for gradual change that's going to eventually become big change. You know, being in the fitness arena on a consistent basis, it's easy for me to integrate this into a number sequence, right? So like we've talked about in the past, but it's, if I'm gonna resolve myself to be able to do a certain weight from a lifting move, right? Okay, well, that's great. And you're working towards that. Maybe you got an injury or maybe you're just not eating right. You have all these kinds of different things. So it's great to set the resolution, but be realistic with those expectations and know going into it that you're going to fail on the way to get there.
Yeah. So bringing me up to, I think probably one of the last main points of the conversation today, and that's
Okay.
how do we achieve that then?
How do we achieve the
Our
accomplishment?
resolution, our goal, our how do we end the year better than we started it?
I don't know. I don't know the magic trick to that one. I don't have a trick other than writing it down. I mean, to your to your earlier
I think
comment.
writing
I
it
mean,
down is one way of making it happen, right? And I'll say
okay,
make it
writing it
happen,
down.
right?
Yeah.
Um, but I think we talked about it earlier here. I think, having a coach or getting some coaches, that's how we're going to achieve that,
Oh, for sure.
right?
Yeah.
I think setting expectations, as you said a couple times, we need to set expectations for ourselves. So when it comes to those goals, I don't know if for those who are aware, like it's called SMART, the SMART. So we want to write SMART goals, and that's specific. So it's something that's measurable. What's the A?
You're a Six Sigma guy, aren't you?
I've done some Six Sigma training, yes. I have the equivalent of the green belt, I think. It's what is it? Smart, measurable, achievable, um, realistic, and trackable. So you can track or see yourself doing it, right?
Right.
And you can measure the progress, right? Again, going back to the process, right? But now, for me, qualifying for the Olympics is not going to be achievable this year because the Olympics aren't this year, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of being realistic. But it is specific, the Olympics, right? But there's other things that we can do or talk about. But I have to be realistic. Am I going to qualify for Olympics? Maybe not in swimming, maybe in another sport, right? It's not to say I shouldn't set a goal for that, but let's figure out some other ideas that can get me to being the fastest swimmer I could possibly ever be, right?
And you're seeking out a coach or a mentor to help you along the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
And if it's, I mean, so it's not to say let's not have unachievable dreams, right? But let's write it down, get the support we need to get us there.
Yeah.
And what is it? What's the quote? Reach for the, shoot for the moon, and you'll get a couple stars along the way,
There you go.
right?
Yeah.
Um, but
Well, I want to add though something really quick that you got me thinking about, but it's not only just having a coach or a mentor, but be careful of who the people that you have around you. So you want to make sure that you have the right folks that are around you, whether they're friends, colleagues, whatever that may be. Yeah, I'm old enough to say that you got to cut people out of your life that are not serving you in a positive way. That would be one thing. Um, if that's the case, then I'm glad that you're here listening to us because we'll be part of your circle. But it's one of those things you got to be very careful, even from a coaching event. And we've talked about this too. You got to be careful about who you're finding as a coach, mentor, a therapist, any of those kinds of things, because they have their one perspective, but there are other variations of those perspectives on things that can get you to where you want to go. And at the end of the day, you got to be the person that's happy enough in as you looking in the mirror and going, okay, I'm good to go.
and
Right.
that and we did talk about the coaches in the previous episode earlier on, right? And I mean, perfect example is like even the right coach, even a great coach might not be the right coach,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Like for my kids' school, our kids are one of our kids is he struggled at the one school, and it's a very good school. He's at another school now, also good, but he's doing so much better.
Yeah, it's excelling.
He is. He's,
Because
my wife and I were talking about last night, and it's not a knock on the previous school. It's a good school, but where he is now is a better fit for him.
yeah. Yeah, it's amazing what environment will do. And it has all different types of characteristics, right? It's the
Right.
people, it's the actual physical environment, you know. Those are things to be aware of. Again, when we're setting goals and making resolutions and talking about setting expectations, you got to sit down and you got to think about, what is all around
Right.
what it is that I'm trying to accomplish here.
Yeah.
So when it comes to what's the thing, I don't know. There's no trick, but finding a coach or a mentor certainly helps. At least an ear to listen to you and then give you feedback on.
Right. Good stuff.
Oh yeah, always.
So I have to think about my word of the year for 2023. I'm taking ideas, but I will be spending some time over the next couple of weeks here to maybe fine tune my thoughts and come up with what my word of the year is, and we'll be letting you know.
Okay.
Put it out there for
I
everyone.
suggest get after it.
Get after it.
No, I'm just using the term. Get after it. All right.
Honestly, one word that had one that came up earlier today in my noggin when I was running my bike with my son was savage.
Savage.
Just
Okay.
be savage. Just
We could
go
always
after
use a
it.
little savageness in our own life. Directed towards the
Easier to
right things.
just stop asking questions. Just go in, get
Yeah.
it done.
That's what I was saying. Get after it. So
Yeah.
savage, same
So.
ideology. There you go. My man. All right.
So good stuff. Everyone, wishing you a happy holiday, a happy new year, very prosperous. You'll be hearing
Yep.
from us again very soon. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.